Uterine fibroids, they're a growing issue affecting a lot of women. Symptoms can be debilitating and women often undergo surgery and even a hysterectomy at times to try and get rid of them.
Yet research on how to prevent them is severely underfunded. Your reporter Kirsten Ross sits down with a doctor to unpack the reasons behind it.
Imagine walking around with debilitating pain, fatigue, abdominal pressure, extreme cycles, and more.
You are struggling to breathe, shortness of breath, you can't work, you can't interact with your family. Like, what type of life is that?
That's what it can feel like to have uterine fibroids.
Every single day you're just being drained and consumed by this fibroid.
Fibroids are tumors that grow in the uterus, and although they're typically non-cancerous, they can cause serious issues. The startling truth is doctors have no idea what causes them.
We don't know why they grow, we don't know how fast they grow. There's so much unknown, what is so frustrating to me and my patients. If you think about the medical visits, the emergency room visits, blood work, medical treatments, surgical treatments, it's estimated to be about $4 to $9 billion a year that we're spending on the United States, yet it is not getting the attention that it deserves.
And the reality is, most women in America will experience them in their lifetime.
It affects about 70 to 80%.
According to a study by the National Institutes of Health, the total economic burden, which commonly includes subsequent infertility treatments and C-sections as a result of surgery to remove them, adds up to over $40 billion every year.
The crux of the issue is, how can we prevent them? Why are they happening?
Dr. Gabrielle Whitmore is a minimally invasive gynecologic surgeon and assistant professor at CU Anschutz. She's also an advocate for greater awareness and funding for research to solve this medical mystery.
Can I ask you whether or not you're hopeful that we will, at some point in our lifetime, figure out what causes these and how to prevent them?
I am hopeful because I think through social media and the news, we are talking about it more. And you can't ignore it if everybody's talking about it. I think people like you and I are advocating for these certain types of projects and research, and advocacy does take time, but I do think it will pay off in the end.
In the meantime, awareness is key, as well as addressing symptoms with your doctor.
For so long, we have normalized symptoms that are not normal. We need to rewrite the narrative on that.
Some encouraging news. The National Institute of Child Health and Human Development awarded $15 million to research in uterine fibroids just last year, although it will take several years to collect the data. Dr. Whitmore not only had fibroids herself, but Michaela, there is a reason that you and I are sitting on this couch together. We both had them. We both had major surgery to remove them.
Yeah.
And it kind of changed our lives.
Yeah, it's such an emotional thing to talk about, right? Because you walk around feeling bloated and uncomfortable and you don't get answers, right? I had a myomectomy back in 2022 for some really sizable fibroids, and I didn't know what feeling normal felt like day to day.
I didn't either. And so, it's also hard to explain to somebody what it actually feels like. But now that I'm healthy, I just had surgery about 3 months ago.
Right.
Now that I'm healthy, I'm like, how was I living like that?
Right.
But it was crazy because when I was misdiagnosed for a year and a half, but when I finally was diagnosed, it's common. They didn't have any answers for me. I was like, well, how does this happen? I started asking questions, and they're like, here's a pamphlet. Maybe you can read that, and maybe that'll give you some answers. But we don't have anything to say. And I was glad that when I came here, we connected about it, and we had the same surgeon. And I was like, oh, I don't feel as alone. But then we also talk about how together we do feel alone because, we have gotten the surgery, but we know that there's a possibility they could come back. And there's no answers.
In fact, I mean, my doctor removed the big ones, right? But there's still several more in the inside. So it's like, so you have to kind of be aware of the fact that there aren't a whole lot of answers behind this. And we hope that that money goes to empower more research, right? And more women to speak up, because I was misdiagnosed too, and there was no answers, and my symptoms were downplayed, and it was just...
And I think that's why we're willing to share our story, because it's not easy being vulnerable and having these discussions. But ever since it happened to me, I'm like, I will share my story and bring as much awareness as possible.
I agree. So thank you for sharing the story. Thank you for being my partner, and my encouragement every day. We sit right next to each other, so we keep each other encouraged. So thank you, Kirsten.